I caught my fiancé cheating with his coworker a week before our wedding. They were making fun of me behind my back, but they also planned to meet up secretly during our honeymoon. Now, I've set out to expose them both in the most dramatic way possible, and I won't let them get away with it. My name is Olivia, 29F, and for as long as I can remember, I dreamed of a perfect wedding day. A romantic celebration with Trevor, 31M, my soon-to-be husband. Trevor and I first crossed paths back in our college days, but were nothing more than friendly acquaintances. Years later, at a friend's party, we bumped into each other again. The chemistry was undeniable, and we hit it off. After that, we quickly transitioned from casual catch-ups to a serious, committed relationship that's lasted 4 years. To paint the picture, Trevor and I are night and day opposites when it comes to romance. During college, Trevor had a reputation for being a ladies' man. Everyone knew he was charming and collected, always bouncing from one relationship to another, leaving broken hearts behind like a trail of confetti. Being the quintessential bad boy was his image. He even remained close with his exes long after the breakups. I, on the other hand, had a much simpler, more straightforward dating history. I only ever dated one guy back in college, and when we broke up, that was it. I don't believe in that whole let's stay friends after splitting thing. So, moving on was easy for me. Clean break, no looking back. When Trevor and I started dating exclusively, his old friends couldn't believe it. The guy who'd always been nonchalant about commitment had suddenly flipped a switch and was obsessed with making us work. I was grateful for the clean start after my own drama, and Trevor's past didn't hold me back. He seemed genuinely ready to take the plunge into a serious relationship. We did hit a rough patch about 6 months in, though. One day, a woman reached out to me through Instagram, saying she had something important to tell me about Trevor. At first, I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to listen. She told me, bluntly, that Trevor had been sending her inappropriate messages and requesting explicit photos. I was shocked, so much so that I confronted him directly. Of course, Trevor tried to play dumb, denying everything, but I pushed until he finally admitted it. He insisted he was drunk and begged for forgiveness. I almost walked away right then and there, but after a week of nonstop apologies and a few genuine tears, I decided to give him another shot. However, my warning was clear: no more second chances. Despite that incident, things went on smoothly for the next few years. We traveled, made memories, laughed a lot, and supported each other through thick and thin. Trevor was always surprising me with little gifts and planning romantic dates. My trust slowly rebuilt itself. And soon that whole cheating incident faded into the background, a memory so faint it barely stung anymore. We seemed destined for happily ever after. Then, about 2 months ago, Trevor proposed to me on an African safari trip. The way he stuttered out his love speech under the twinkling night sky, surrounded by wilderness, was almost too perfect. He knelt down, ring in hand, and confessed how I'd transformed his outlook on love. The ring was elegant and understated, just my style. Through my tears, I obviously said yes. The following weeks were a blur of wedding dress fittings, menu tastings, and written guest lists. I poured myself into the planning, obsessing over every little detail of our big day. Trevor, meanwhile, was fixated on booking the honeymoon, a lush, exotic getaway to a tropical paradise we both dreamed about. I wish I could have stayed in that honeymoon planning bubble forever. Naive and happy, but things started to unravel in small ways. As the wedding drew closer, I noticed Trevor glued to his phone more often than before, smiling at random, even laughing to himself. When I'd ask what was up, he'd brush it off, claiming it was just some funny Instagram video. Our date nights used to be these sweet, unplugged moments, but slowly, Trevor drifted behind his digital wall. Eventually, during one dinner, I didn't hold back. "Trevor, is something going on?" He hesitated for a moment, a flicker of guilt in his eyes, then immediately dismissed it. "You're overthinking. Seriously, stop worrying about nothing." He turned the tables, making me question myself, even telling me I have a habit of creating drama where there isn't any. I almost bought it. Maybe I was just letting wedding stress get to me. Still, something didn't feel right, but I convinced myself to ignore it, chalking my unease up to pre-wedding jitters. But then, yesterday, everything changed. Trevor was out for the day, so I hopped on his laptop to to print out the itinerary he'd put together for our dream honeymoon. While I was at it, I noticed a new notification pop up. Someone named Boss2 had sent him a message. Curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked on it. Immediately, I saw an inappropriate photo from a woman I recognized, Emily, one of Trevor's coworkers. I'd met her at his company's holiday party. As I scrolled up through the chat, my jaw dropped further and further. The messages were full of "I love yous," snide jokes about me, and personal conversations about my family. The kind of stuff I never imagined Trevor sharing with anyone, especially with Emily. What's worse, they'd sent each other multiple, very explicit photos. It looked like this affair had been going on for over a year. My stomach dropped when I realized that Emily, too, was married, and I'd met her husband once or twice. He seemed like a genuinely good guy, which only made it hurt more. The callousness of their deception was almost unreal. Reading further, Emily told Trevor she couldn't bear to see any honeymoon pictures, that the thought of him with me made her sick. Trevor reassured her he belonged to her, that our honeymoon meant nothing. She pushed him about why he was marrying me at all. He said it was just easy, comfortable, and he didn't want to start over. She agreed. Her husband made her life easy, so she just stayed. They laughed about how clever they'd been, convinced no one would ever catch on. The ultimate gut punch. They'd masterminded a plan for Emily and her husband to run into us by accident at our honeymoon destination, so Emily and Trevor could sneak off together without anyone suspecting a thing. By the time I absorbed all this, tears streamed down my face. Breathless, hands shaking, I snapped screenshots of every message I could find. I wandered through the rest of the day like a ghost, too numb to function. To top it all off, Trevor called that evening to say he'd be working late. I wanted to laugh or scream at how cliché it all was. That night, I lay awake, reading their collected messages on my phone and feeling the pain morph into anger. In that moment, I decided I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I wanted Trevor to feel the same gut-wrenching pain he'd caused me. As he crept into bed hours later, I pretended to be asleep. The next morning, I tracked down Emily's husband Ethan on Facebook and sent him a message asking to meet, stressing that it was crucial and needed to remain secret. Right now, as I write this, I'm anxiously waiting for his reply, determined to expose everything. My plan is clear. I'm going to forward all the texts, except for the most explicit images, to everyone in Trevor's work group chat from his own phone. I want everyone to know why I'm ending things before the wedding. For now, I'm playing along, acting just as clueless as ever, to keep Trevor off his guard. Reddit, am I wrong for wanting to go nuclear? Am I an asshole if I ruin both Trevor and Emily's relationships and expose their double lives? Update 1. Ethan finally messaged me back after a few tense hours. He asked why I wanted to meet, so I fibbed about wanting to plan a birthday surprise for Emily. Since Emily and Trevor were known to be close at work, I guessed Ethan wouldn't think much of it. We met at a cafe near his office. As soon as we sat down, he called out my lie. It wasn't Emily's birthday anytime soon. Sheepishly, I admitted I hadn't been truthful and told him it was about my fiancé and his wife. His face was a mix of confusion and concern, but he let me explain. I opened my phone and showed him the screenshots. Ethan scrolled through them, his expression going from shock to disbelief to heartbreak. He asked how long I'd known, and I confessed it had only happened last night. I asked Ethan about their plans for the upcoming vacation. He looked puzzled, so I explained how Trevor and Emily had planned to run into each other on our honeymoon for a secret rendezvous, using their unsuspecting partners as cover. Seeing Ethan's demeanor crumble was gutting. He told me he'd noticed Emily had been staying out late recently, but he'd always chalked it up to work stress. What really broke him was sharing that they'd actually been trying for a baby and planning to buy a bigger house. I told Ethan about my plan to expose Trevor and Emily at work, assuring him I'd leave Emily's name out if he wanted. He surprised me by insisting I go ahead. According to him, Emily had betrayed me too. I had every right to make things public. Ethan was set on divorcing Emily. He asked me to send him all the screenshots via airdrop, saying he was going to his lawyer the next day. Before he left, we swapped numbers. He advised me to break up with Trevor before the reveal, just in case things got ugly. I assured him I'd handle it. The next day, when Trevor went to work, my brothers helped pack up my belongings and I moved back in with my parents. I left the engagement ring on the dining table, deleted all our social media pictures, and blocked Trevor everywhere. No long letter, no explanation. I wanted him to suffer the uncertainty of my silent exit. That day, Trevor's calls and texts streamed in, all through my parents. My father, gruff and ex-military, told Trevor to stay away and never come back. That was only the beginning. I scheduled a mass email from Trevor's home laptop to his entire office, attaching screenshots of the unfiltered conversations between him and Emily, including the messages making fun of their colleagues and boss. The fallout was swift. Sarah, a mutual friend from Facebook, reached out to me soon after the email spread through their office. She confirmed everyone was in disbelief, not just at the affair, but also at how Trevor and Emily had trashed their coworkers. Their boss was livid, especially since she was mocked in those conversations. Soon enough, both Trevor and Emily were fired for professional misconduct. Ethan, meanwhile, sent Emily divorce papers. She tried begging for forgiveness, but Ethan wouldn't budge. He told her the trust was gone. Some days I still break down. The pain is real, especially at night when memories hit me hardest. But there's comfort in the honesty and support I've received from my family. My brothers visit every weekend just to check up on me. I know in my heart, discovering all this before the wedding, not after, saved me from years of misery. Update 2. A few weeks have passed and I'm doing well. Better than I dared to hope, considering the circumstances. With my family's help, I managed to move out quickly. Trevor's frantic attempts to contact me faded after my dad stepped in. As for the workplace drama, Sarah kept me in the loop. The office was stunned, then angry, then vindictive. Trevor and Emily found themselves utterly alone. Their professional reputations are toast. Ethan is following through with the divorce. Emily was livid at first, then desperate, trying to get Ethan back. But he remains firm. He said that the loss of trust was too great to overcome. I still have hard days. Sometimes my grief hits me out of nowhere. But therapy's been helping, and my family's support means the world. Update 3. It's been 3 months now. Thank you to everyone who sent me kind messages along the way. I've read them all, and they've been a tremendous comfort. I've made steady progress in therapy, which has been invaluable for processing my emotions and moving on. Living with my parents has brought a familiarity I hadn't felt in years. I'm focusing on building my career, working toward financial independence, and healing at my own pace. Not long ago, Trevor tracked me down at my parents' house, begging for a chance to explain. Not wanting to make a scene, I agreed to let him speak, outside away from prying neighbors. He rambled on about feeling weak, about being seduced by Emily, and was shocked I'd known for so long without letting on. But I wasn't interested. I told him he had no right to expect I would stick around for an explanation after what he'd done. He pleaded for another chance, but I stood firm. I told him I could never trust him again, and that I was moving on. He was devastated, but it was too late. I closed the door, finally feeling a sense of closure. Days still come when I feel a pang of sadness or frustration, but more often, I'm grateful. I'll never doubt my instincts again. They protected me when nothing else could. I'm rebuilding, step by step, determined to carve a new, happier path for myself. That brings this story to a close. This story is a striking example of the complexity of betrayal and the power of truth. Even in the face of heartbreak, it's possible to claim agency and confront the situation head-on. I've got a question for you. What would you have done if you caught your partner planning such an elaborate deception? Would you expose everything or walk away quietly? Let's talk about it in the comments.